Hello, 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 and welcome to another amazing author interview with Inspired by Vanessa, and the author is Derrick Smith. How are you, Derrick?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain.
That is good. That is good. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started, and I want people to know about what was your vision behind this book, and what made you want to be able to write a children's book.
Um, well, let's start back. Is I did a vision board when I turned 40,
Mm-hmm.
which was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I had put it off for the better part of 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people like, yeah, if we said you'll get to those things on your bucket list.
Yeah.
And I had put it off and I had put it off. And one day, about what, almost a year and a half later, finally decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Sat in front of my computer one night, drank probably about four of these, and I wrote Ava and Marcus's adventures. And one of the things that was behind it is I'm a child of the '80s. Of I saw a different world. I don't know if it's vogue to say the Cosby Show now, but where you saw images of people of color eating dinner, going to school, family things. And that was a big part of my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
of just the visual effects of those two shows.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wrote this book, this was about now in the 20 some years later, for young kids to say, oh, black families, oh, they do eat dinner together.
Mm-hmm.
There is a working dad. There's a dad, with his wife and kids and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Just so much to show the images in the book.
I remember I used to watch the Cosbys. I used to watch, is it Different World?
Yes.
Different. So you see like the different things that used to happen. It's so rare if you find it nowadays. And so when I seen your book and I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this. It's something just for people for just like you said, this generation to be able to know that it's possible to be able to still have that.
Okay.
A two-parent home, and nothing's never going to be perfect, but just to be able to make it work and still come back. And the heart of the home is always in the kitchen, it seems like. And
Yes.
where we could be able to have these conversations of how were your day, how was school, what's your goals, what's your plans, or what have you, without the phones. We have phones everywhere. And it's like we don't have conversations. It's like I can't even look you in the eye without looking down at my phone. I think that's crazy, but that's what happens. So I'm loving the fact that you went and took it back. They say, what you did, take it back to the old school. Sometimes it's good to go back to the old school so people can see, like, I remember them days. But now let's teach this generation that we can get back to those days. So I'm loving where you went with it, because I caught on to it. I was like, I see where he's going with this. Now, what made you? And I remember this conversation, and it was so interesting. But you still said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. What made you decide to work with Inspired by Vanessa?
Is I had looked probably through 20 or so publishers, in years past, wasn't really quite sure. And I had joined that illustrators group.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm really going to do this. I'm really going to do. And I had seen your link about 3 or 4 times. And the last time was someone told a horror story. And I was like, oh, goodness. I said, this is probably not meant for me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a little bit further. I said, I'm going to just go ahead with this, because if not now, when?
Mm-hmm.
And, I reached out to you on Facebook and I said, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm. So I remember that. I remember that because the horror story, I remember talking to that person.
Uh-huh.
So that was the interesting part about it. And some people get it, some people don't. And so you just got to let them make their own decision and deal with it however they they choose, right? But one thing that I really like the fact that you said you wrote this book for a while, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they always say, I would love to write a book. I don't know if I could write a book. I don't know. They always hesitant. And I'm a believer is that if this is one of your visions, then you have the ultimate decision to be able to make it come to full fruition. But if you continue to sit on it, then how would anybody be able to read the story? Right?
True.
And so, what would you suggest for those people who are sitting on the fence? Say, you know what, I got this book. I know I want to write this book. I've been holding on to this book and da 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 da. What would you tell people about moving forward, or what would that be like?
Two things. It's a book I have my students read called Tuesdays with Maury. It's a book about a man who is a reporter who hadn't seen his professor in 16 years. And he realizes that, wow, I thought I was living this wonderful life as a reporter, but I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do. And his professor helped him connect to how he really wanted to play music. This whole idea of being a reporter wasn't his thing. He really wanted to be a musician, but he thought that he was supposed to do that. And he realized they met for, I think it was 13 Tuesdays, that he didn't want to live with regret and not play music again and enjoy the aspects of his life. So he started to play music. That book had a huge influence. Then the other thing is, like I always tell my students, you don't want to be the what if guy. And I said, nobody likes the what if guy. They said, well, what do you mean the what if guy? Is you ever been someplace at a gathering and somebody says, well, I could have been rich, but what if this hadn't happened? If that hadn't happened. Well, if this hadn't happened. And I tell myself, I said, nobody likes that person. Because nothing good comes after the what if.
Yep.
And he said, well, I could have been if this didn't happen, if that didn't happen. And, I just went ahead and did it because it was important to me in this next chapter of my life to really do this. And I have known so many people I went to college with. Oh, I'm going to write a book. Oh, I'm going to write a screenplay. Still haven't done it. 5, 6. I think I've been out of college now 13 years of undergrad. Still haven't written. And, I make it a point to do it every day. Is I have pieces of paper I scribble on and write things down because this was an important chapter in the next part of my life.
Ooh, the what if. I tell people you do not want to include yourself in the most expensive place on earth. And you have yet to tell your story. You have yet to leave a footprint in this earth. And so now somebody else is digging to find pieces to piece together to put on your obituary. And I did a post like that recently. And of course it went over, some people hid, but then I had the inbox messages. You don't want to be that person. And so I'm loving the story that you said, that what if, because we do that often because we wasn't taught to do something for us. We was taught to do something for others, like go work for a job for others. But then outside of that job, what are we doing for us? What legacy, what footprint are we leaving for us? And so I'm loving that what if. I'm glad you're telling your students that now so they don't repeat the same what ifs that we did later on and prolong things longer than need be.
Because I always tell them, and they get sick of me saying this, and I say that, and they can almost repeat it in their near throw. I say, the greatest thing we will leave on this earth is our influence on others.
Yes.
Is that if my time ended today, did I really do something for others? Is that this first book here is that for every dollar that's sold of this book, it'll go to send young kids to STEM camps, STEAM camps, basketball camps, is to give the next generation an opportunity to do something.
Wow.
And I always, like I said, encourage them that giving for others is far more important, than receiving. In this next chapter of my life, in terms of writing, it's about creating opportunities for others and hopefully getting, with book number 2, getting people together to help some kids further their education, but more importantly, the sense of self.
How has this process been working with moi on your book? Moi.
At first, like I said, it was nervous because this was totally new to me. And like anything that's new, sure, you have fears, but what you don't know is you have to put your trust in somebody in that and accept the things that you don't know. And as I've read through that illustrators group, and I think the horror stories that I've seen from many different people, it was people who were never experienced in publishing, writing, illustrating, is they had all these desires, but didn't have the real experience to put together a book.
Yeah.
And I could accept that I didn't have that. Is that you were the person to have it. Be like, you say it goes on, fine, sure, okay. Because, like, again, I don't come from that, so you have to trust somebody to do that. And like I said, you were great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for what you're doing with your book and how you're giving back to be able to help children, how you're encouraging them, how your next project, I was just finalizing some things with your next project. And I was just like, this is like some amazing stuff here because I get to see the different, aspects of this journey. And just to see how it all started, it was like, wow, just a person who met over social media, had a couple of conversations, and then next thing you know, okay, I got this book, I got that book, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, so this person is jumping along and took a leap of faith and trusted me, and I thank you so much for trusting me with your vision because I'm a believer. You do not play with people's babies. That's what I call them. The books, the visions is somebody's baby. You do not play with it. And so I'm really, really big on that. So thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for just saying yes to Inspired by Vanessa in this journey of your books that you're releasing like wildfire.
As I hit 40, and I would tell anybody, is read Tuesdays with Maureen. I encourage everybody to read the book. And no, it's not about, really, as my students say, it's not about some man dying with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Is if you go through the 13 Tuesdays and realize Mitch never was leading the life he wanted to lead. He was leading like that he thought he wanted to lead. And, you start thinking, yeah, I was a teacher. But what sort of brought this. How does SCAD, the Art Institute of Savannah, came to our school about 3 years ago, and they were creating all these books and commercials, and they were just showing the kids. And I just remember it was the visual images of my younger days
Yeah.
that wanted me to get an education.
Mm-hmm.
I can still remember the episode of The Cosby Show where they had the painting, Ellis Wilson's painting, The Funeral Procession. That's probably my number one episode
Mm-hmm.
of The Cosby Show, where they're just looking at the painting and Claire wants to buy the painting.
Oh, yes. I remember the episode.
Yeah. And, 30 some years later, you remember every visual image and what feelings and emotions brought you to those images. So here I am when the speaker from SCAD was talking, I totally forgot I had a classroom. I could care less about my students about that time. I'm thinking more about, wow, it's connecting people to images. I know it's in this day and age, there's visions and visual things all everywhere. But as if you were a child of the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
you remember where you were when you saw Theo wearing that awful Gordon Gartrell shirt that his sister made. And you still laugh 30 some years later and you see the meme.
Mm-hmm.
But you were the part of that image as a child, like,
Yeah.
never let your sister do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is cheap. A different world when Dwayne gets his PhD and you see him teaching graduate level classes and you see a room full of Black people. Yeah, there was the fraternities and sororities, but you saw them uplifting people,
Mm-hmm.
educating people.
Yeah.
I have never forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm seeing the lady from SCAD show all these videos and books and things, it was just an instant connection to that. Again, this is what's next. Like I told you, I took a bag for myself, and my kids were like, Mrs. You do know you do have a job, right? It didn't register. And I'm still thinking about, okay, I'm going to call, get my head into this. And they're tapping me. You got a job, you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't thinking about that from the man in the moon. Because again, for everybody, it's different in terms of creator.
Yeah.
But it's when you see visual images, especially with books. This first book of where you see a Black father at a dinner table with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a child of the 80s, we all are old enough to remember Cliff Huxtable.
Yep.
We all grew up with that image.
Mm-hmm.
30 years later, you can't tell a child of the 80s that every Thursday night or Wednesday night, 8:30,
Yep.
you saw
Yep.
family, and it's forever ingrained in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you say, you could be 60 years old, you gonna remember Theo in that shirt. You're gonna remember that pain.
Yeah.
That's an indelible part of your time period.
Yeah.
And as I write the next children's book, which is probably, I think, on my little sticky note, I think that's book 4 or 5.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Like I said, I got a whole sticky note full of things. Is really connecting younger Black readers to visual things.
Mm.
Because I don't think, even though we live in this technology age, the images of pictures are what transformed our generation. Because I wanted to go to HBCU. I wanted to be Dwayne Wayne because it was just something about seeing a young black man. He got his PhD. He came from a poor neighborhood in New York. But to see him say, it's not enough to be good, you got to be better.
Mm.
And he was driven to be better. And it wasn't so much about color as it was at that age, is, you know, you got to work. All this excuses and all of them, no, you got to work. Never forgot that.
Mm. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That is powerful. Um, we have to remember where we came from,
Mm-hmm.
but we also got to know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we get lost into the what ifs, and we lose our way. But then there's got to be something that's got to bring us back to, like, wait a minute. I remember where I came from. I remember those nights where, because I'm from Chicago, and it wasn't pretty. And the struggle was so real, so raw, so in your face. And for me to be the first generation in my family, to be able to make a difference is amazing. And sometimes it feels like a blessing and a curse, because you decided to do something different. And those who chose not to, they feel a certain type of way. But we all have an opportunity. We all have an opportunity. And as I say to many, many times before, if people could see our vision here and they come from other countries
Mm-hmm.
to get better here, and we don't take the opportunities that we have here, I'm going to leave that right there. Because we have access to the opportunity. We have to be willing to change our mindset. We have to be willing to go for it. We have to be willing to invest in ourselves. We have to be willing. And if we could be able to get there, then we're on to something. And you are definitely on to something. You're definitely on to something. So again, I thank you so much for just trusting me with your baby, because that's what the books are to me. They're the babies. Their vision has started somewhere, but you knew that you know you have more to do, and you're doing it. So I'm glad you took me on a journey.
I said, you know, this is really, again, like I said, just the beginning of not just books. Is there's on YouTube, there's the Fox 5 Surprise Squad in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And they go around and surprising people in terms of paying for groceries, help rebuilding homes, and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful set of videos. As I write, I really think about it. I went to a private college.
Mm-hmm.
Cost me over 6 figures over 5 years.
Ooh, made my head hurt.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned through going to college is that activism and giving really start with visions, and that these books are really not for me. but to create opportunity
Mm-hmm.
for other people that are less fortunate.
Yep.
That is really big to me to really see. Because I've shown my class some of the Fox 5 Surprise Squad videos. Again, they have a platform to do things for others.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. And now at a point in my life as I write, never about making money. It's about, can I create an opportunity for some other person
Mm-hmm.
to benefit from what I've done?
Yep.
Because I always tell them, and it's that Joe Gibbs quote that's in my classroom, the greatest thing you leave on this earth is your influence on others.
Yes.
And I don't want my time as a teacher, my time as a writer to be empty.
Mm.
So I put a lot of time into investing in people and things in the world outside to give folks an opportunity because it was given to me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, my first year in college, 16 of the $25,000 were given to me by scholarships.
Mm.
And these were folks who didn't even really know me. I'm coming from Georgia to go to Minnesota. And like, hey, you want to work in the library? Sure. Hey, here's a couple $1,000. And there were people who were so good to me at my time in college. And I thanked them in book two that it's important to me that I give somebody what was given to me.
Yes. I'm a believer that books open up doors.
Mm-hmm.
They open up doors. They open up doors like we never imagined. They definitely open up doors. But we got to be willing to write the book, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to let people know how they could be able to connect with you, how they could be able to get your book, how they could be able to follow you on social media, because you have so much more in store. And I don't want them to miss a beat. So let them know.
I am on Facebook. It's Derrick Smith. And if you see the icon, it looks like the SLL. I believe that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That is me. I am eventually going to get on Instagram and Twitter. No, don't start. Don't. I'm still adjusting and learning to get on it. Eventually, I will be on Instagram. I will be on Twitter. I am on LinkedIn. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Okay.
But once I finish school, finish my doctorate, the website will be launched and I'll have a little bit more time to really put this out there. But it's mainly Facebook. You can email me at derricksmith79@gmail.com. So those are about all the ways you can find me. And my book is on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. I'm excited for you, Derrick. I am. I am so excited for you. On what you're working with and what you're doing, how you making a difference, how you did not allow yourself to sit and let your list grow and you not do anything with it. So you're doing it. You are absolutely doing it. And thank you so much again for trusting Inspired by Vanessa with your books. Because I mean, you could have won anybody else, but you choose little old me.
I mean, is the more the more you continue to look, you'll never find. And sometimes, you just have to say, tag, you're it. and let's just go
Mhm.
and accept. Is the one thing I have found is I've talked with different writers who have published, the ones who have actually finished, accept it as if it was a children's book. Okay, I know nothing about pictures. I know nothing about sizing and formatting. That's for them to figure that out.
Right.
Let me just write it. They edit it. We'll figure all the rest of that out later.
Mhm.
Um, I think that is the big thing of accepting what you don't know.
Yes. Very true. Totally agree. Totally agree. And that was a perfect way to end, because that right there, that's a message for somebody who is still straddling the fence on moving forward right now, but moving forward with starting that business, moving forward with something, and they still just straddling. Is I mean, the more you straddle, you don't never know what's on the other side of that fence.
I,
Unless,
I highly recommend for every young, inspiring writer or people who are on the fence, either read the book Tuesdays with Morrie or watch the movie Tuesdays with Morrie. It is on YouTube. You don't have to buy it.
Mhm.
Just watch the movie and go through every Tuesday. And when you understand that he wasn't leading the life he wanted to lead, and no, it's not about him, the professor dying.
Mhm.
If you really go through and evaluate, put yourself in Mitch's shoes and ask yourself, are you leading the life you want to lead?
Mm.
Are there things that you are avoiding?
Mm.
Is read the book, watch the movie. I encourage all young writers to watch it.
Mm. That's a good one. Well, I don't have nothing to say after that. I mean, that right there, that did it right there. So, do you have any more closing words? That was
Um,
good.
is my book number 2, which I'm guessing like another 2 weeks or so ish. Strength in Numbers.
Mhm.
Um,
That book will be complete and done this month.
uh,
It's at the verge. Oh, I can't say too much because we don't want to give too much away, but you'll be receiving it.
is 65% of those proceeds with book number 2 is any young person applying to college who needs help with admissions fees or dorm fees or even basketball camp. 65% of those proceeds will go towards that.
Mm, wow. And you will be back to talk about that book once that book comes out, because people need to know that, college is still existing in the pandemic.
Yes.
Fees still need to be paid in a pandemic. And anything that, when you giving back like that, we need to know about, you know, you giving back. People that's giving back and you're doing it. You did it with book 1 and you're doing it with book 2. We need to make sure that people know that. So that's very important. So we thank you so much, because our young ones, they need all the help they could get. It's tough out here. It is tough. Anything counts. So thank you so much. It's called Strength in Numbers.
Numbers.
Yeah, I remember.
Hmm.
So thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. I really do. And if anyone is ready to be able to write their book, self-publish their book, make sure that you reach out to Inspired by Vanessa, and we could be able to make it happen. Derrick, this has been absolutely amazing, and I look forward to you coming back again for book number 2 to let them know about it, Strength in Numbers. So you guys, make sure that you connect with Derrick, get the book, support him. It is going to a good cause. And if you know what, can you open up so they can see some of the illustrations that's in the book, because the illustrations are on point. Yeah. There, yep, there's the words and there's the illustrations right there. You can't miss it. The book is really, really professionally done. It's clean. The kids need this. We need to read these stories to our children. We need to take them back to what we remember, but let's bring them up to that they can have this too in their own homes. So let's remove the phones. Let's remove all the technology and get down and read a good night book. And Derrick Smith's book is a book that you need to make sure that you read to your children. So I'm not just saying that because he worked with me, but I'm saying it because I know what it was back in the days, just like Derrick did. And so if we could bring some of that back, just some of it back, we can make a difference in this world today. Do you agree, Derrick?
Yes.
All right now. So with that being said, this has been absolutely amazing. And I'm looking forward to much, much more of what's next in store for Derrick Smith. So in the meantime, between time, guys, you guys be blessed and we will be back soon.